welcome to my channel. I'm Tracy Holland from Reforge Change, and you're going to be watching a video which is the start of a series of conversations that I have with my friend Suzi Payne, who runs Transform Your Career Success. But this first video we're talking about tackles one of those nutty problems, which is what happens when you just don't gel with the organisation that you're working with. We talk about how to identify it, what impact it has on you, and what you can do about it. So enjoy the video and I shall catch you on the other side. Hi everyone, I'm Tracy from Reforge Change, and I'm joined by my friend Suzi today.
Hi, I'm Suzi from Transform Your Career Success.
And we both run our own businesses that help women really get unstuck when they're in their career and move on. We've been talking loads over the last few weeks about challenges we've faced and challenges our clients have faced. And we thought what we'd do is have a chat, record it, and then we'd share it with you. And then you might be able to pick up some hints and tips to take you forward in your career. Didn't we, Suze?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many examples that we can share and so many great insights and tips. So we thought we'd get together and collaborate just to help you grow your career, go from feeling stuck, frustrated and unfulfilled back to feeling like you're in control of your career, you're smashing through your goals and you're achieving that transformational journey of your career that you're looking for.
Excellent. What we want to talk about today is something that it's more like a feeling, really, isn't it? When you're in a role and you feel like you're just not gelling with the culture of the organisation, or something's just not right, and you kind of misaligned to either the role or the company or the team that you're in, and how that makes you feel, what you can do about it. So, Suze, do you want to talk to us about an example where you felt misaligned, or you understand where that feeling comes from and what that actually feels like?
Yeah, so there's been a few times in my career of the last 20 odd years where the role has not been a good fit for me, or the environment has not felt like the best fit. And it can have a really, really detrimental impact on not just your mindset, because you feel like you're in a little bit of a career funk or a negative space, but it can start impacting your performance as well. So for me, I really like to work hard on being the very best version of myself. You know, when I feel top of my game and in that high performance mindset and I'm smashing through my career goals, I find that everything's in alignment and the role is a good fit for me. On the flip side of that, when I don't feel like the role is a good fit and I don't feel like either my capabilities are a match with what I'm being asked to do, or whatever the reason, it can really affect not just the way that I'm feeling and showing up, so my energy during the day, my ability to perform in my role. But you can't be high performance and you can't be top of your game and operate at your best self when you're so misaligned in what you're doing. And it can affect all areas. It can also roll into the personal aspects of your life as well. So there was a time when I'd been in a role and I was really trying to make it work, but it just wasn't a good fit for me. And I was feeling like I knew I needed to make a change, but I did not know what that looked like. And I forced myself to keep going. I pushed against the feelings I was having, but I also didn't recognize what was wrong either. So when we get to the tips part of this, I'll give you some tips on, from my experience, how I got out of that negative space. But yeah, I think not feeling like a role is a good fit for you is really hard, particularly when you've made a commitment and you're on that journey working in that organisation. It can be quite difficult to move. What's your experience, Tracy?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think for me, it hits one of two ends. So I either feel really disengaged, really unmotivated and sort of down about the job, and I've had that experience in a role. Or the other end of the scale is that I'm completely burnt out and overwhelmed and I'm just chasing myself to catch myself, if you know me now. I'm running to stand still. So I can get both sides of those, like complete exhaustion and can't get myself motivated, or I'm like working so hard because I'm not achieving what I want to achieve. So I just keep going at it. And both of those just are not balanced. They're not balanced ways to be. You're either feeling really in a funk, or you just like on a hamster wheel and you can't stop. And I think that really, you're right, it affects your home life, it affects everything. And it's just not a really great way to be. And I think when you're quite passionate about your work, which I know both of us are, that leaves you feeling really dissatisfied in yourself as well. And I've often felt like I've let myself down a little bit, or perhaps if I worked a bit harder, or why am I so bored and uninterested in this role, I'm being lazy or whatever. And I can start to get some really quite negative self-talk, really. And that just then perpetuates that way that I'm feeling, and it ends up in a bit of a downward spiral. And I know we've both sort of ended up in those kind of scenarios. What do you think it feels like when you are aligned to your role? What's the difference for you when you're really sort of connected to the role and you're feeling that this is the right one for you?
So for me, having a vision for my career, both short and long term, is really powerful, because if I know where I'm going, I can take action in the direction of my goals. So when I've got a clear path for like the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 12 months, I feel like I can take positive action to keep moving forward. And that works whether you're highly ambitious or not so ambitious. It doesn't really matter. For those who just want to do a really great job and be fulfilled in their career, that you can wrap goals around that. It doesn't all need to be about climbing the ladder, getting more money, climbing the role ladder, or whatever that looks like. It doesn't need to be about that. But for me, having clear goals and know where I'm headed, and feeling in control of the pace that I'm moving on that path, is really powerful for me. On the flip side of that, when I'm goalless, I always say that I'm like flapping around like a flappy fish out of water, because I get really down, like you say, really demotivated. I can't perform at my best. Confidence starts to dip in certain areas, particularly if you work in like a high pressure, high performance environment where everybody is expected to bring their A game, or they are doing. Then if you're in that negative space, it's really hard, because you can start to look at your colleagues and think, why do they love it and I don't? Or why are they absolutely smashing it out of the park and I am struggling to get motivated? So I do think there's a lot of power in recognizing what you actually want and why you're feeling the way you're feeling, but also having goals that you can really put a pin in, and then you can take positive action. And by taking that action, it could be goals around personal development, it could be mindset related goals. By doing something that moves you in the direction you feel like you're taking positive action, it can slowly but surely get you out of that negative mindset and back into a motivated space. So when things are in alignment and I'm in a role where I feel like it's a good fit for me, everything's just in flow. Everything's happy. The stress levels of cortisol is lower. I'm a nicer person in home, less snappy. It does have like a knock-on effect of everything. For me, I've always prided myself in making quick changes, but the further on I get in my career and the more senior that I get, it's become more difficult to actually make those changes at any kind of fast pace. So like when you're in a leadership position, you know this too, Tracy, when you're in a leadership position, particularly a senior leadership, to get a new role can take easily 6 months, if not 12 months. When you're in that negative space, you need fast action. You can't sit in that unmotivated state for 6 months, because it starts to have detrimental impacts on your health as well. You're going to start not sleeping, you start getting anxiety, you're going to absolutely dread getting up for work, particularly on a Monday morning. It's really a very counterintuitive place to be. And we are going to talk about later, aren't we, Tracy, about tips you can implement that are going to get you out of that space quickly. And then we're going to talk about how you can do it for more of the long term. But I would say that's my experience, just feeling when things are in alignment and you're feeling really happy and you're making impact and you feel like you're clear on your purpose and your roles in alignment with your purpose, it's really, everything's so positive and you feel like you can move forward very confidently and do a really good job in your role. What do you think for you when things are in alignment? What do you think?
I think that I want to just pick up on that, what you said about purpose, because something that I think people often don't ignore but don't put enough importance on is what are the values of the organisation that you're working for, and do they align to your personal values? Because I think we've spoken about this before. I've had jobs where on paper I am a perfect match to that role. It's playing to my strengths, it's doing stuff that I enjoy, and then when I've actually done the role, sometimes it's just not gelled, and it's taken me a minute to realise that it's the values of the organisation. So if I'm not being authentic and genuine to myself about things that I think are important, I find that difficult then to throw myself into that role to achieve things that I'm perhaps not really in agreement with and don't feel authentic to me. So a job that I had, and it was just as you described, everybody else seemed to like be thriving at this role. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Why can I not do what everybody else is doing? And it was the things that we were achieving were just things that I didn't feel were that important to me. And the things that I did feel were important, like coaching and developing the staff, having a supportive environment, bringing people on, having diversity, those things didn't exist in that organisation. So to me, we were just going after the wrong things and doing things in the way that didn't really fit with my own personal values. And that's why I couldn't get myself, fully committed to it. And that's why I felt so dissatisfied with what we were doing, because it wasn't playing to my values, and therefore I wasn't really using my strengths in the way that I wanted to use them. So I think for me, when I'm feeling that out of alignment, it's a bit of checking with myself, like at the end of the day, what do my energy levels feel like? Do I feel like a flat battery, or do I feel like the Duracell bunny and I could keep going? If I'm feeling like that flat battery, then something is draining that energy from me, and I need to check what that is and why that's happening. And am I feeling like I'm learning, I'm adding value, I'm being genuine and authentic to things I really believe in? And if I'm not, and I get to the end of the day and I think I'm just drained, I feel spent, I feel a bit used, like all of my strength's gone, and I don't feel like I've created and built something, and I also don't feel like I've learned something, and I'm not feeling very challenged in my role, they're things that sort of indicate to me, what is it about this role that is not the right fit for me? And it's not that anything's wrong with you, it's just that it's not a fit for you. So that's when you need to think about, well, what can I do to move this on? So I think we've got a couple of hints and tips, haven't we, about what you might be able to do. So I think
we absolutely have.
In the short term, I think for me, one of the key things is, if I'm not happy in my role and I feel like it's not the right role for me, don't treat that as a negative feeling or a negative emotion. That's feedback to yourself. That's yourself telling you something's wrong. So accept that that's just how it is. It's not wrong to feel like that. If you're not feeling happy, there's a reason for it. So take that as your feedback. And then 2 things that I like to do, which are really quick, immediate things. Control what you can control. So that whole your locus of control, like there's things that you have absolute control over, things that you can influence, and then things that are absolutely outside your control. And immediately, like you alluded to, getting a new job tomorrow is probably not going to happen. So don't pin all your hopes on that. Think about the things within your role that you can control, things within your environment that you can control, that can help you get through this period whilst you're making those plans. And then I think the other thing is what I like to call your little wins. So try and give yourself little targets, little challenges, ways that you can appreciate a little win every day to give you some of that positive feedback and contribute back to your energy, rather than hanging everything on a huge, massive career change or, refocus. Just those little wins every day in a work setting can help you sort of get through and keep your momentum going.
I think they're really powerful tips. So on the flip side of that then, so Tracy shared some tips around quick actions that you can take in the short term to get out of this negative space of feeling frustrated and out of alignment. And I think they're really, really helpful. On the flip side of that then, for the more longer term, so my tips would be take some time to really reflect of what is wrong. So think about what is broken in your current environment and that is not working for you. Is it that your skill set is out of line with the role? Is it that your manager isn't supportive and not demonstrating those servant leadership behaviours? Is it that you're working in an environment that it's really competitive and you, rather than feeling like there's a team dynamic, you're feeling like there's more of a competition culture? I've worked in that environment in consultancy and it's really challenging because you're, like I said earlier, you're operating where you expect to bring your A game every day and it's exhausting. Nobody can be top of their game every day of the year. It's not achievable. So you do need to give yourself a little bit of grace. So recognizing what is wrong, like I say, it could be the culture, it could be the environment, it could be the values, like you said, Tracy, but really putting a pin in, if you were to change something, what would need to change? So, that's where I would start. Tip number 2 would be, what do you actually want? If you were to map out a vision for your career, both long-term and short-term, what would that look like? What would you want to do? And I would think about again, back to the short term is what you want to address because you want to get out of this negative funk as quickly as possible. So what would need to change? What's your next career move that you want to make that's going to give you that fulfillment, that joy, that alignment? Or if it's more that you're wanting to move your career forward and grow your career and climb the ladder, then what's that next role that you're looking at? So spending some time really thinking about what do you actually want? If you were to have a blank sheet of paper and you could draw your career out, what would it look like? And then my third tip is to help you put some kind of shape around what you want. Think back and do some reflection on your career journey to date. So in the roles that you've done, the environments that you've worked in, the teams that you've worked with and the people, where did you feel happy? Where did you feel like you were able to make a positive impact? Where were you growing in your career, like from a skills perspective? What jumps out as being like, and this is not about looking back with rose-tinted glasses, but what jumps out in your career journey as being a positive moment in time? And why was it a positive moment? Because that can then help shape what your next career move needs to look like. And you can look at things like what values you want to have in there and things like that. But they're my kind of top 3. And I would spend some time of an evening or whenever you feel like you've got a bit of quiet time, I would get a notebook, a journal, and I would just write those things down because it's really cathartic to get out of your own head how you're feeling. To get them down on paper and then start putting shape to what you actually do want and visualizing and being, mapping out your vision for your career. It is really, really helpful. And that in itself, you will feel like it will start to get you out of your negative mindset and more into the positive place.
I think
they'd be my tips.
Yeah, they're brilliant tips. And I think there is a thing that you've just sort of mentioned there is I can be very much all or nothing. So it's, halos or horns, the job's terrible or the job's brilliant. And actually it's probably a bit more of, there's a mix of both of those in there. So I think you're absolutely right. to think about it in a balance and in a round, so that it's everything about that role is not going to be brilliant and everything about that role is not going to be awful. So it's about picking those things out, and like I say, those quick wins that you can do to sort of get yourself in a bit more of a momentum and a bit more of a balance, and then really thinking about those short, medium and long-term goals, as you've alluded to, will really help you move from where you are now, deal with it where you are now, and then move forward, wherever you decide that you need to go.
I just want to pick up on something you've just said then, because we all go through like ebb and flows in our career journey. And even if you've been in a role for 5 years, you'll find that sometimes you'll feel really positive and then you'll take a dip. So there is a little bit of recognizing, is this a temporary blip in your journey, or is there something fundamentally broken in the role that you're doing? The answer might not be to move roles or move companies or find a different environment. It could just be that you need to ride it out for the short term. It could be something simple that needs to be fixed. The entrepreneurial journey of running the business is absolutely like a roller coaster ride, but I do think your career is as well. Yeah. So you, again, back to that reflection point, if you spend some time reflecting on your career and really being honest with yourself, have you, even in a role that you absolutely loved, have you always felt from the start of that role to the end of it, have you always felt like it's unicorns and rainbows? Because I don't think we do. I think we always have little dips along the way. So it's, I suppose the other thing is it's recognizing how out of alignment you are, how unhappy you are. Are you that unhappy that you want to make a significant change, or is there something small that you can shift to turn it around?
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
That's brilliant. I think we've given some really good tips there, and I hope anyone who's listening to it finds some nugget of use there. And obviously, we both run businesses that help women mainly to get their careers on track. So please reach out if you think we can be of any other help to you.
Yeah, we hope you've enjoyed what we've shared and hope you resonate with a lot of it. And like Tracy said, if there's any help you need, feel free to reach out. And we'll probably do a few of these videos, because rather than us just chatting amongst ourselves and debating these topics, we thought we'd do it and share with our audiences. So thank you everyone for watching, and we hope you've got value from it. Have a great week.
Thank you. Bye. Don't forget to hit that subscribe, like, and get notifications. See you next time.